The CEO of a multi-million-dollar fashion company came down from her bedroom one morning to see her personal assistant looking so hot at the sight of his muscular body physique. She couldn't help herself staring at him and was lost in her thoughts of having him on her bed. And while the handsome young man reminded her of her morning schedules, she never paid attention to what he was saying. The boss tried hard to compose herself and went back to her room, even when she knew that she could have him at the moment with her heavy curves. But ever since then, she wouldn't stop thinking about him, and every single moment spent with her employee seems to be a memorable one in her admiration. To a great surprise, the young man was also crushing on his boss. He couldn't stop thinking about her and also wished that he could walk up to his boss one day to tell her how he feels about her. Until one day the boss couldn't resist him any longer. She came to his bedroom to seduce him but found out that he was sleeping with her daughter. She was furious at him and told him that he will regret ever knowing her because she was going to send him behind bars before sending him out of her house. But she finally found out the truth that you may also want to know. So what could it be? After Abigail, who is the CEO of one of the leading companies in the fashion industry, survived a heart attack as a result of a heavy workload, her friend Funmi stayed with her all through at the hospital. Funmi told her that she needed intensive care, so she should call her daughter back from school to come take care of her. But Abigail can be stubborn at times when it comes to her work and her health. She still handled all the stress in her company, regardless of her health condition, as the calls kept coming in from her managers. Kelvin is her HR manager who came to see his sick boss. Kelvin happens to be close to his boss and her daughter after some years of working for her as her personal assistant, until he was then promoted to become the HR manager. Kelvin has been on the call with his boss's daughter, who was sitting for her exams in school. Abigail collected the phone and told her daughter, who was eager to come back home to take care of her mother, to complete her examinations before returning home. Kelvin was more considerate of his boss's health. He insisted that he was going to become her personal assistant, since Abigail would not call her PA to come take care of her until she is back on her feet. So Kelvin had to work from home just to take care of his boss's needs until he retired for the day and went back to his house. The next day, Kelvin brought some wares requested by his boss. He was dazzled the moment he saw his boss looking so beautiful and sexy, even while she was sick. Abigail came down to check the wares, but she got angry that more wares were wasting in the store. She asked Kelvin, who had become her temporary PA, to call for an urgent meeting with all the heads of departments. Kelvin saw how furious his boss was, so he sent a text message to her to take her drugs. Abigail understood what the message meant when she saw it. What marvels her is that Kelvin happens to be the only person who she listens to, and she has yet to understand why. Kelvin worked with her closely and tried as much as possible to make sure that she takes her drugs in siesta. Although Abigail never liked the fact that a guy who she employed controls her, but his care towards her makes him more attractive to her, as she thanked him before going to her bedroom. Kelvin also finds his boss attractive, but he doesn't have the guts to tell her how he feels about her. So he called a friend of his who gave him some tips on how to make his boss fall for him. So Kelvin began his mission of making his boss find him attractive. The first tip was to never give a helping hand if she did not ask him for any. To Abigail, this was unlikely of Kelvin, who will try to do everything possible to make sure that she is fine. The next day, Kelvin told her that he was going on a date. This was the second tip from his friend to make his boss feel jealous. Abigail never saw the jealousy in her when she became inquisitive of knowing who the lady was. Kelvin also learned from his friend to spike the fire burning by not telling his boss anything about his date. Kelvin never had any date, but rather went out to sit with his friend who has been helping him make his boss fall for him. Kelvin got the next tip on putting on one of his best outfits to make her feel like he had one of the best dates. These tips were really working because Abigail wouldn't stop asking him about his new date. She wanted to know more, but he kept to the rules of telling her nothing. Kelvin literally works from home now. His boss came down to get the report she requested from the office. His friend gave him another tip to smell nice. Abigail perceived his perfume and fell in love with his nice smell. The attraction was beginning to get strong when Funmi walked in and ruined the moment. Funmi has been observing how happy her friend has become ever since Kelvin was around. She wanted to know what was going on. Abigail admitted that she wouldn't have anything to do with any of her employees, but she was wrong. Abigail couldn't get him out of her mind and thought about every single moment spent together with him. Kelvin was also buried in his own thoughts with his crush on his boss. All these were happening under the same roof because he most times spends the night in her house. Things got so intense the next morning when Abigail came down to see Kelvin in what looked like an endowment of a great body physique. She had to compose herself as Kelvin gave her the details of the day's schedule. Now it was only a matter of time for Abigail to admit that she likes him. Kelvin had to do it his own way. He surprised her with a special meal prepared by him. Abigail acted like she was not aware of his intentions, so he was going to open up, but he heard the doorbell. Kelvin went for the door to see Lorlah. It was a big surprise because nobody was expecting her. She had also just ruined the moment for Kelvin. Now he was going to leave since Lorlah was around. Abigail came in to tell him that he could stay for as long as he wanted because she enjoys his company. Abigail never knew that Lorlah was eavesdropping. Lorlah came inside his room to ask him if he was dating his mother. Kelvin was surprised with her questions because she was way too young to talk in such a manner, but he never knew that little Lorlah was crushing on him. Abigail had plans on going out with Kelvin to the gym so they could get closer, but they never knew that Lorlah had better plans to ruin every moment her mother intends to have with her crush. And since her day was ruined, she had plans for the night. She asked Kelvin to bring a file to her bedroom so she could seduce him, but Lorlah knows her mother better, so she ruined it by getting the files from Kelvin to bring to her. Everyone was beginning to have a crush on each other without knowing. Lorlah prepared a very nice meal for Kelvin to entice him, while he made an exclusive meal for Abigail. She so much enjoyed the meal and wished it could happen every day, but Lorlah has become a stumbling block to Kelvin especially. Abigail told her friend that she thinks that her daughter doesn't like her relationship with Kelvin, but Funmi told her that she needs a man, and to be happy, she should not allow her daughter to determine what she wants in life. Sometime later, Lorlah came to Kelvin's room to seduce him, but Kelvin told her that he saw her as a kid sister from the very first day. This really upset her, so she left. Later on, Lorlah came back later with her usual delicacy so they could eat together. Kelvin accepted her kind gesture like every other day until something unimaginable happened. Abigail also had the intention to come to seduce Kelvin until she saw what looked like an abomination. At that minute, Kelvin had to leave her house. She told him that she was going to make him regret all his actions for what he did, but he never said a word and left. Funmi heard all that happened, so she ran over to see her friend. Abigail accused him of molesting her daughter, but Funmi did not believe her. She somehow believed in Kelvin to be a loyalist, so she went to confront Lorlah. Funmi saw the guilt in her eyes without saying a word, so she told Abigail to figure it out before leaving. Lorlah confessed what she did. She drugged him to sleep off while she removed his clothes and slept close to him so that her mother would hate him. Lorlah had a crush on Kelvin, and since she can't get him, her mother also wouldn't have him. Abigail felt so horrible about what she had done. She had to find a way to meet with Kelvin so she could apologize to him. Kelvin felt the bond between her and her daughter had been broken because of him, even when she begged him to come back. Moreover, he is starting his logistic company, which Abigail was aware of. He thinks now is the time to devote all his time into it, so he ended things with her to start a new life.
Thanks for watching this movie recap. Please comment your thoughts and also like and share this video for more super amazing videos that we're bringing to you. And if you're watching from our YouTube channel, please don't forget to subscribe and turn on your notification for more. Thank you.